being held in person for the public to participate through Zoom if preferred. Instructions on how to attend virtually are included in the City Council calendar item listed on the front page of missionks.org. The public is also invited to participate in the meeting. If you are participating through Zoom, please either add your comment in the chat feature and it will be read out loud, or note that you would like to speak and we will call on you shortly to make your comment verbally. Please remember your comments or questions are visible to everyone in the meeting. If you are part of our in-group tonight, please raise your hand, but stay seated and we will call on you to go to the lectern to make your comment. When you make your comment, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Echo situation. Okay.
If you keep going.
I'm just ignoring it because I can hear it too. Yeah, be conscientious of others trying to speak and speak slowly and clearly with an echo. This meeting will be recorded and posted on the city's website at missionks.org. Please contact the administration office at 913-676-8350 with any questions or concerns.
It's on 0.
I was gonna say, I'm having a flashback. Should we continue? Or?
Okay, Ms. Folks, please call the roll. Roll.
Boltinghouse,
Here.
Loudon.
Here.
Ryard. Here. Pring.
Here.
Schmid.
Here.
Carpenter Davis.
Here. Okay, our first item of business tonight is public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment now on an item not on our agenda tonight? Okay. Anyone want to make a comment on Facebook or online? Tonight we have a
Robin, I'm here also. I don't know if I didn't hear you call my name.
lectern.
Hello, I'm Judy Rodman. I'm the president and CEO of Sunflower House. So I would just like to thank the mayor and the council for the opportunity to present to you tonight. And special thank you to Chief Madden for the invitation. For those of you who don't know, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. And so that's why I'm here. Sunflower House is our child advocacy center that serves Johnson and Wyandotte counties. We have been around since 1977. So we started out as the Johnson County Child Abuse Coalition. And then in 1997, we became Sunflower House. So we've been serving the community for 47 years. So prior to child advocacy centers, if a child were to disclose abuse, they would have to tell their story to multiple different people. So many times it would be the educator, the school nurse, the principal, the detective, child protective services, anyone in medical. And so first of all, that was horribly traumatic for the child to have to tell the story over and over again. And then just like the game of telephone, after you repeat a story over and over again, many times it changes. And then we had people that were not trained in how to ask kids questions in a non-leading way. And so child advocacy centers were really designed to create safety where a child's really telling the full story one time. So it's trauma informed. And then we work really closely with our local law enforcement and child protective services. So we have a protocol that we've all agreed to on how we would handle any reports of child sexual abuse. So that's been signed off by the 26 precincts in both Johnson and Wyandotte County. So we're very thankful for those partnerships. And then the whole premise of our agency is to really use a multidisciplinary team approach. So we have the district attorney's office, we have local law enforcement, we have child protective services or DCF, we have our entity that does the interviews and family advocacy, and then we have mental health and Children's Mercy Hospital. So all of those entities wrap around services around the child and non-offending caregiver to provide them with support. So I just want to do a high level overview of the services that we have, and then I have a little video for you to see, and then I will be here to share and answer any questions that you may have. So at Sunflower House, we really try to create a circle of safety of all of our services. So we start with education and prevention services. And so with that, our goal is to create a common language between the adults and the children about what is child abuse and how do you recognize, respond, and report abuse. And so we know we can't prevent all incidents of abuse from happening, but if abuse does happen and we provide early intervention and early identification, we can prevent any further abuse from occurring. So we have children's programs where we serve children from preschool age all the way up to high school. And so if any of you have ever had children in school in this last 47 years, you may be familiar with Happy Bear. So Happy Bear goes out to our local school districts and teaches preschool up to first grade children about body autonomy and safety. So Happy Bear teaches kids that no one should look at, touch, or take pictures of anywhere their swimsuit covers. So we present the topic in a very child-friendly way that's not scary for children, and we teach them about welcome or unwelcome touches. So it's a very easy concept for them to grasp. And then who are safe people that they could go and talk to if something does happen? Then our programming goes up. And so from 2nd to 5th grade, we build on that same premise that Happy Bear taught them early on. And we continue that conversation, but we also talk about bullying and we start talking about online safety. So I don't know how many people here have children, but we usually talk to our children about stranger danger, right? And so we tell them, if somebody approaches you, here are the things to keep you safe. But how many of us hand our children a little device or a tablet to play on? And so although we wouldn't send them to the park necessarily at 4 or 5 years old by themselves to play, we have this here. And so there's a lot of safety things that we go over with the kids for them to understand how to keep safe online, like not telling people where you go to school, not sharing your address or phone number, identifying information. And then with our middle school and high school students, we teach e-safety. And so the game kind of gets increased the older the kids get and the more access they have. And so for our high school students, we co-present with law enforcement or members of the KBI. So we talk to them a lot about some risks that are available, that comes available to them when they're on their device. So we always teach kids that who you're talking to may not actually be who you're talking to, and the relationships may not always be genuine and authentic. And then we also try not to scare them too much. There's really great things that come with online. So I'm older than most of you here. So I know if I used to have to do a school report, we'd have to go look up the big encyclopedia and lug it around to do our report. And now our kids can look up that information and it's at their fingertips. Then if we have any children with any special needs, my oldest daughter has dyslexia. She's been able to find a great support group that can support her with other people that experience the same challenges that she has. So there's some great things that come from it, and there's a lot of danger that comes from it as well. So in our presentations to high school students, we talk about things like the risk of sending inappropriate pictures, the risk of sextortion, which is something that really happens. 2 years ago, we were presenting to a high school group, and they informed us of something called MyLOL. So it was an app that was out that was a teen dating app. And what was happening, I know the looks on your face, that was look on our face too. And it was the look on the member of KBI that was presenting with us because he hadn't heard of it yet either. So sometimes we learn from the students as well. And what we learned from this app is that many times students were signing up thinking it was a dating app. They would be encouraged to share pictures. And then they would be told, if you don't pay us this amount of money, we're going to release your pictures. So that's extremely dangerous on multiple levels. And so luckily our member of KBI said, I'm going to be a 13-year-old girl on my OLL this weekend. So I'm glad to report that it has been taken down and that app is no longer available, but we know that tech companies are always smarter than us. So with that, we think it's very important to empower our kids and give them the language that if something's happened, how do they reach for help? But on the flip side, we also have adult programming. So one of our most frequently attended adult programs is how to keep your kids safe online. So I don't know about any of you, but I have a 10-year-old grandson that knows way more about the device than I do. And if I get stuck, he will help me figure out where I need to go. So our class also helps adults to know, what do you need to look for? How do you set safety precautions for your child? How do you make changes to change the algorithm that's available? So one of the things that we talk about is back in my day, the earliest exposure to porn was typically age 15 or 16, and it was usually in print material. Now the typical exposure to pornography is age 9, and it's in video. So sometimes parents will hand their device to their kids thinking YouTube's great because it has cartoons and games on it. And there's also a lot of unwanted things on YouTube as well. So part of our class is to really bring parents up to speed about what's great about technology and what are the dangers so that they're equipped to make the best decisions for their kids. Then we also have programs like mandated reporter training. So we have signed memorandums of understanding with local school districts. We've signed it with Shawnee Mission School District, Olathe School District, Gardner, Edgerton, and I'm waiting to hear, I do believe that KCK Public Schools have also signed a memorandum with us. So then we could go in and present all of our adult programs and our children's programs within their school district. We also launched an online academy. And so that was a way for schools to go on and to get some of our training. So Olathe one year did all of their mandated reporter training on that online academy. And then we were very excited that Girl Scouts of, I have to look and make sure I say this right, Northwest Kansas and Northeast Missouri just signed a memorandum of understanding with us to have us train 9,000 of their staff, troop leaders, and volunteers. And so we were very excited that they stepped into that arena to make sure everybody had the same information on how to protect the girls and Girl Scouts. Now, the one thing that I have to take a moment to brag about, and as nonprofits, we're not usually very good at this, but one of the things we added to our memorandum of understanding, and I have to say we are the first child advocacy center in the nation to do this. So we're really leading the charge. So I have to brag about our education team. But we added language that we want to be first responders for our school districts if there is a situation of abuse within the school system or mass violence. So usually when people think about Sunflower House, they think about us serving children that have experienced sexual abuse, but we also serve children that have experienced any kind of abuse that has been involved in human trafficking or has witnessed a violent crime. So that could either be domestic violence or crime in the community. So for instance, when we had the incident with the Chiefs Parade on February 14th, we reached out to all of our school partners and shared information like, here's how we recognize trauma in our kids. Here's information to share with parents about community violence. And we were able to do that in English and Spanish. So we want to make sure that we're supporting our school districts and our community with how to best support the kids who maybe have experienced a trauma. So that's our preventative side of our circle of safety. Now, if we have a child that something does happen to, then we have our child assessment services. And with our child assessment services, those kids are referred to us either through law enforcement or through Child Protective Services or DCF. And so those children then come to us and we are able to complete a forensic interview. So our team is specially trained to be able to speak to children in a trauma-informed way, in a way where we're coached on how to have those conversations with kids, and we're able to do it in a non-leading way. Now, our members from law enforcement and DCF are sitting in the other room. They all know how to use our camera system and be able to move it around to get the information that they need. And so all of those interviews are recorded. And at the end of the recording, it becomes part of police property. So one of the things that we've done to help to support our local law enforcement agencies is if we have a child that comes in, a child and family, and English is not their native language, we provide the interpreter services. So that expense is not coming back to law enforcement. The other thing that we've done is before, if we did an interview, it used to come on VHS tapes, and then it came out on CDs, and then it came out on flash drives. This made my heart stop to think that somebody was walking out with a flash drive because it's so little and it could get lost. And then that's that child's most intimate story that they have to tell. So this last year, we upgraded our system to a system called Guardify, where now everything goes to a cloud, and it's the highest level of security that's used with our US government. And so now we're able to do secure transfer of evidence to law enforcement through that system. So there's no more flash drives going out of Sunflower House. So we're very excited about that. With our child assessment team, we also have family advocacy services. And so they really wrap around services for the non-offending caregiver. In our notes that we have over 90% of the kids that we served either know, like, or love their offender. So the majority of them, it unfortunately has been a family member. So for that non-offending caregiver, sometimes they are risking, not being able to pay the rent, not being able to cover basic utilities, loss of insurance, all of those things. And so our family advocates really wrap around services to make sure that we could keep that family unit together if at all possible. And then they will support them through that whole court process. So if we get to the point of going to court, our family advocates can attend court with that family. And then the final step on our safety is through our therapy services. So we partner with PACES, which is part of Wyandotte Behavioral Health Network. So prior to me coming over to Sunflower House, I was a member of the multidisciplinary team and I was the executive director of PACES. So we worked out this partnership to have the clinicians there on site. So I'm happy to report they've been in place for 12 years now. And I personally believe they're some of the highest trained clinicians that we have in the area. So they're trained on multiple evidence-based practices on how to deal with trauma. So they're trained on trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR, which is eye movement and desensitization and reprocessing. It's really complex. I would like to explain it, but it'd take too much time. And then we added another program called problematic sexual behavior. So one of the things that we saw in our data is that we're seeing more and more kids coming in with assault by a peer. And so one of the things that we thought is for our program to really prevent future abuse, how do we provide services to this kid that has problematic sexual behaviors? So we have this evidence-based program that we're able to provide, and the research shows that 92% of the kids that come through that program no longer have those problematic sexual behaviors. So we're only one of 2 places in Kansas that provide that treatment. So it's us and then the Child Advocacy Center for Sedgwick County. So we're very excited about all of those services. And so our goal is if something bad happens to our kids, and we like to think those are the things that never happen in the world, but they're able to come to Sunflower House, and it's a very child-friendly, it looks like a home when they walk in, and so they feel good coming there. We get feedback from the kids. And so one of the things that we always like is when we hear you guys have really good snacks or the people were really nice to me when I came here and they want to come back for therapy. And so then we know that we're doing our job well. And so if it's okay, I'll go ahead and show the video real quick, and then I'll be available to answer any of your questions.
Today, I brought my friend Kathy here who's going to teach us all about keeping our bodies safe. Just remember that if anyone makes you feel uncomfortable or touches you in a way that they're making you feel like it's your fault or it's a secret, I want you to remember that that would never, ever, ever be your fault. Can we see that? It's not my fault.
Statistically speaking, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys will be sexually abused by the time they're 18 years of age. And those kids.
Sorry, 1 second.
Need a place to be heard. And that's where Sunflower House comes in.
Every child that walks through our door is here because somebody has hurt them. Many children have different experiences when it comes to their abuse. Some may have been intimidated, some may have been threatened, some may have experienced violence. Some carry shame and feel like they're responsible for their abuse. And so all of those contributing factors keep somebody from coming forward and sharing their story.
Sexual and physical abuse. It's out there. Oftentimes people don't realize that they're not involved in the manner in which law enforcement, social workers deal with this every day. Unfortunately, they just don't recognize the severity. And it's extreme to get the information out there for people to be aware. If they see it, report it, because we need to be involved.
Let's put up 2 fingers. So those 2 fingers would be 2 safe, trusted adults, people that we could tell that to, that we know will believe us and that will help us. So I'd like to hear from you. Who are some of your trusted adults? Can you name one person? Mom or dad? Good. How about you? Aunt or uncle? Does anyone know someone at school who they can consider a trusted adult? Teacher? A principal? I think one of the most important roles as a child advocacy center is the prevention work. Because when you have a child and the adults in their life all speaking a common language about body autonomy, about safety, about identifying safe people, that child then feels comfortable coming forward, speaking truth, and knowing they're going to be supported through that. And that the child has also gotten to the point where they just need this to stop. And they need that heaviness of the weight of the burden of the trauma to be lifted off of them. And so when those things come together, then the child's able to come forward with their story.
Sunflower House is a family-friendly environment that allows the child to, in a safe manner, open up and discuss and disclose their traumatic experience.
If they're able to come forward and we're able to stop abuse right away and have early intervention, the ability for that child to just turn around and to still live the life that they're meant to live is greater. And so it's so important that our programs start with preschool age and work up through adulthood. All of the services that we share, we're able to do so at no cost to the families that need us.
Moving forward with therapy almost immediately after a forensic interview, it allows that child to be face to face with a licensed therapist. Because again, they just went through a traumatic experience, whether that be physical or sexual. So it's another opportunity for that child.
Everything we do, from the beautiful building to the therapy services that are provided, to the books and the toys in the lobby, that's all made possible because of the support of our community.
You know this place is here to help. And when you leave, you just feel better.
The first step in somebody's healing is to first be heard and to be validated. And to hear that that experience for them is true and that it's real, and to realize that they're not as broken as they believe they are. Thank you so much. All right, up there. Say goodbye. It's not my fault.
So the one thing about our services is that we know 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 13 boys will experience sexual abuse by their 18th birthday. And I tell people, we hear those stats and it doesn't really hit us until we start thinking about our own families or our own kids that we know. And so when you think about your daughter's soccer team or your son's baseball team, and you start thinking about 1 in 4, it's significant. And the one thing that we know is currently 70% of kids that experience abuse do not disclose in childhood. So the average age of disclosure is 52. So somebody's been carrying that burden for all of those years. And that's why we've invested so much in our education program. So I'm happy to report that in this last year, in 2023, with a team of 3 educators at the time, we were able to educate 40,400 people in Johnson and Wyandotte County. So that was significant. It's more than we've ever been able to educate before. And through our child assessment team, we saw 540 kids from our community that experienced abuse. The majority are sexual abuse that we are currently seeing. One of our goals moving forward is in our next accreditation process is to be accredited in physical abuse as well, and work with our local partners around physical abuse, and then to have our education program to be accredited as well. So like I said on there, all of our work is made possible by our community. And so when I look at our budget, I just want to share with you that 41% out of our $2.1 million budget comes from corporate and individual giving in our events. So our community really is what makes this happen and makes these services take place. And so the reason I think it's so important for our cities to understand the impact is when we talk about things about high school graduation rate, teen pregnancy, substance abuse, suicide being the number two killer for our kids, homelessness, when we talk about incarceration, when we talk about all of those big things that impact our community, I could tell you, I'm a previous clinician, the underlying thread in all of that is oftentimes abuse that has gone untreated. So we are committed to being able to get our education out there, have kids feel comfortable coming forward so that we can support them in their healing. And then I just want to take a moment real quick while I'm here in front of everybody to recognize Detective Danny Smith. He is one of our biggest champions. He comes in and advocates for our kids. He shows up at every event. He's got all these great ideas of how to support us. So when he told us that he was going to retire this year, we were all very sad because he is one of our big champions. And like I said, as a resident of Mission, I'm so proud to have him on our team. So I don't know who's going to replace him, but we need a duplicate. So I just want to take a moment to thank him as well, and then to see if you had any questions. So I know it's a heavy topic. So it's the things we like to believe don't happen in the world, but I like to tell everybody, even though it's hard and heavy, I could tell you when the kids came in, I don't know if you noticed on the video, but there was a room that had teddy bears and loveys, stuffed animals all over it. So after a kid does a forensic interview, they get to come in and pick out a lovey of their choice. And so I recently had somebody reach out to us and say, can I come and speak for Sunflower House? So she came and spoke at our gala event, and she attended Sunflower House 25 years ago. And one of the things she shared when she came in to meet with me prior was when she came in, Sunflower House was in a very different financial place, and she didn't get a teddy bear. And so we're going through and I'm giving her a tour of the new building. And when we got to the teddy bear showcase, I reminded her that all of our kids get a teddy bear, and I'm sorry, hers is coming 25 years too late. And she got to pick out her lovey that day. And for her, she started crying and she said, I didn't realize how much that teddy bear meant. And now it's helped me to close that circle of my healing. So those are the little things our community does that really makes a difference for our kids. So I just want to say thank you, because I know a lot of people from our community make our work happen. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Thank you so much for being here, obviously. Yeah, like you said, this is a heavy topic, and I know most of us up here are parents or, have little ones. So something that I know a lot of us are obviously top of mind. But I was curious if there's anything from a city standpoint that we can do to kind of help support your work, whether that's spreading the word or, just is like a volunteer opportunity for any of us to come and like help out, or what we can do.
Absolutely. So thank you for asking. I did leave packets here for all of you that has information in it. So with this being Child Abuse Prevention Month, Friday is Wear Blue Day. So blue is the color of our ribbon. So if you could share the word about the importance of talking about child abuse, that would be great. We do have volunteer opportunities available. I know the city of Chociej just contacted me and said, could we do a day of caring and come out? So they're going to come out and help us to take care of the building a little bit. So we're always welcome to do that. Or if we have some other events coming on and anybody is interested in being involved with any of those events, we would gladly say yes. And if anybody's ever interested in coming out and actually touring our facility and seeing, so you have a better grasp of the work that we do, you're welcome. So my business card's in there. You could either email me or call me, and I would be glad to talk to you about how to get connected. Thank you.
I just have a question. If you have a child that has come to you and disclosed things and they're going back in the setting where they're in the abuse, do you provide therapy to, for instance, just an example, if it's a mom and a dad and it's the dad doing it, do you provide therapy to the mom, or how do you send a child back into that environment?
Yes, so that's up to, we don't send the kids back. That's up to the court system. So they determine whether or not that family is going to reintegrate. But when a family comes in, we know that when abuse happens, it doesn't just affect the child, it affects the whole unit. So we're able to provide therapy services to the identified victim and any of their siblings and the non-offending caregiver. So those services are available. And like I said, those are available at no cost to them.
Okay. To follow up.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess when you're providing the therapy service, it's after they've established that there's a problem, and I'm just thinking, I don't know if they.
So it doesn't have to be substantiated. And so that's one of the things, we don't have to wait for prosecution. So if they come in for a forensic interview, one of the things our family advocates do is they do a screening for trauma symptoms and they do a screening for suicidal ideation. So we know that when a child comes in for a forensic interview, the national data says about 80% are experiencing suicidal ideation. So any child over the age of 10, we're screening for that. And then we automatically refer based on their scores. We go ahead and refer for any services that they need. And one thing I didn't add is all of our education and our therapy services are available in both English and Spanish. Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm honored that I was able to come here as a resident of Mission and as a nonprofit supporting our community. And so thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you very much. I do work in child welfare and you guys do amazing work. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for all that you do.
I appreciate that.
I know
Thank
how
you.
hard that is.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor who has a proclamation.
Yeah, so related to our presentation tonight, I'm issuing a proclamation designating April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in an effort to bring awareness that children have a right to be safe and to be provided an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow. It is critical that we come together as partners so that the voices of our children are heard by all, and that as a community, we are extending a helping hand to children and families in need. We thank the many child advocates, including teachers, nurses, and social workers that work tirelessly every day helping children and ensuring their bright and healthy futures.
All right, we have one item coming forward from the Planning Commission this evening for consideration, a proposed lot split at 5537 and 5541 Woodson Street. Mr. Scott, will you please share information on these items? This item.
Okay, thank you. We weren't aware of this until recently, but there is a lot at the corner of 56th Street in Woodson that actually has two houses on it. And so the owner decided that they would like to split the lot so they could sell one or both houses. It's addressed at 5537 and 5541 Woodson. And both of the houses were built in the early 50s. I think staff report here. 1954, and both houses are identical. The lot right now is 120 linear feet along Woodson, so it'd be divided into two lots, each one 60 feet. And this is copacetic with the rest of the neighborhood. Most of the lots in that block are 62 feet wide. So this meets our criteria for a lot split. This was considered by the Planning Commission at their March 25th meeting, and it was voted to recommend approval to the City Council 9-0. So this will be on your regular agenda for the 17th, I believe.
Are both houses occupied currently?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think probably one house is empty. They're identical. So I would assume somebody bought a lot and just built two houses maybe for a family member or something. I don't know, but yeah, I'm not sure what the motivation was in 1954 to do that. So.
No public presentations this evening. So we will move into our action item. Our first action item this evening is the acceptance of the meeting minutes from Roeland.
Yes, thank you. The March 6th, 2024 Community Development Committee meeting minutes are included for review and acceptance in your packet tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Please. Want to come down and?
Yeah.
Would it be okay for us to put it on our social media?
Yes, I was gonna ask you about that.
Okay. Okay.
So you said Friday for wear blue.
Yes.
And you're wearing blue. So
Yes.
I was gonna put a confirmation on social media tomorrow, and you can also put a thing about the wear blue. Okay, great. Do it here and get a photo. Where you want to be?
Would you mind doing one for my?
Sure thing, no problem.
You also.
Okay, next we will consider the purchase of site furnishings for Waterwork Park from Penn Almoney.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy to be here before you today, talking about improvements in our park system. So Waterworks Park, early on in the process, we decided to exclude site furnishings in the hopes that we could save some middleman markup. So this is why the items come before you now, separate from the scope of work from our general contractor. So it was a review. Waterworks Park improvements are well underway. We had the groundbreaking in February, and we've seen significant progress due to the fact that there hasn't been too much snow or rainfall over the last month and a half. So we've gotten a lot of concrete and grading done, which has been wonderful. We still have a shelter, 2 ADA accessible restrooms, additional sidewalk and trail connections to new amenities. We still have the water bottle filler and water fountain, and benches, picnic tables, trash receptacles, landscaping, and the new parking lot to be installed. So it's still an active construction site, and we get plenty of people walking by taking pictures. So when you get a moment, check it out. The purchase of picnic tables, benches, and bike racks, it was important to us to make sure that we maintain a consistent look and feel from park to park. So we've reviewed bids and pricing from previous park purchases and chose Wishbone Site Furnishings as a sole source provider for these elements. And what that's done is it's given us some preferred pricing in the amount of 10% off the top of the price, which saved us $3,513.50. And what it's also done is given us kind of standards to of care that we know. We won't have to worry about splintering wood because it's recycled pieces. We won't have to worry about restaining because they're all embedded within the colorings within the product itself. It's a 10-year warranty, rated to 1,000 pounds, and it's relatively heavy, so we don't fear anybody going to take these products and load them up into the truck or move them around on the site. So all of these 5 benches, they're 6 foot long with armrests. There's 6 picnic tables, 2 of which are ADA accessible, 8 bike racks that all amounted to $36,621.50, including the shipping and handling. We'd set aside or estimated that cost coming in at $32,500, but as part of the process, we had a contingency in place where we'll draft that $4,121.50 from, and we'll continue to make sure that we're being cognizant of all cost-saving opportunities so that we can keep this project on pace and under budget. So based on the durability and appearance of these previously purchased items, staff is recommending the purchase of 5 benches, 8 bike racks, and 6 picnic tables from Wishbone Site Furnishings in an amount not to exceed $36,621.50 to be paid from Parks and Recreation Sales Tax Fund. So there's a 10 to 12 week lead time, which is why we're bringing it before you today. That would put our delivery in the middle of July and would still allow us to finish the project by August of 2024. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Ben. I have a question related to the e-bikes with Roeland Park. And I know we haven't settled on the site for where those stations would be. So this could all be totally moot, but if a station were to ever end up at Waterworks Park, for example, or something, is there anything we need to be doing now to be able to make sure that that infrastructure would be ready to go by that time? Or would that be able to be easily added on after the fact?
Yeah, great question. We, in light of that, that came to the discussions pretty early on in our planning. We have conduit straight from the pole into close to where the restroom is. It's going to be capped off. So if and when we choose to put some sort of electric hub there, whether that's for vehicles or bikes or micromobility devices, we have that opportunity already set aside and built in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, I'm speaking very prematurely. We have not settled on those sites or anything, but I was just curious if they were.
Yeah.
Question. Okay, recommendation?
Just a quick item. You're off by a dime, no big deal.
Dang it. Good catch, Debbie.
Consent, although I'd love to highlight it.
Okay, our next action item tonight will be consideration of construction contract to complete phase 2 of Mohawk, also from Penn.
Second and final phase of Mohawk Park, which is wonderful, 7-acre plot located on the southwest corner of Mission and Overland Park. So phase 1 improvements began in July of 2022, and then substantial completion along with that ribbon cutting occurred last August 2023. This item is for phase 2 consideration for park improvements. The phase 2 project improvements include completing a 10-foot wide concrete trail along the north and western edge, demoing a significant portion within the middle of the park, adding additional parking, and all abilities playground, shade and surfacing, as well as multi-sport court, grading, and additional native landscaping elements. So just as a review, we went through the playground separately. It was a pretty significant lift. There was a grant associated in October of 2023, if you recall, where we could save over $200,000 if we took advantage of the pre-purchase and manufacturer. So council approved that. In addition, council also approved in February the surfacing installation and last remaining amenities for that playground structure. So all in, I just wanted to bring to memory that we've invested $809,448.40 in the playground, shade, surfacing, and installation costs. And that amount has already been encumbered and is in some iteration either paid for or encumbered to be spent once we receive final delivery. So this is separate from that. The bids for the remaining phase 2 improvements came in March 21 from 3 firms. Sands Construction was the lowest and most responsive at $681,565. Centric was second at $723,237, and then Mega KC Corporation bid $834,900. Sands bid represented a savings of $238,582 below what the engineer estimates were. So we were really excited internally, the cost savings and how we could utilize those funds in some of the other areas in our park system, as well as our recreation system. We still have outstanding information from Land and Water Conservation Fund regarding the application for grant in the amount of $566,285. So we've gotten word that we are preliminarily passed along into the consideration phase So their coordinators reviewed our application, saw that it was worthwhile for the rest of the committee to evaluate and are recommending that it be approved. That doesn't necessarily guarantee that it will be. But the fact that we've got this phase one project already awarded helps our case. So that's still outstanding. With that said, we're recommending Mohawk Phase 2 project. The portion of this project be awarded to Sands Construction in the amount of $681,565. And that money would be coming from the Parks and Recreation Sales Tax Fund and 2022A bond proceeds. Construction is anticipated to be later this summer. And we'll have updates on what that timeline looks like with consideration from Land and Water Conservation feedback. Happy to answer any questions.
As we're doing presentations on the park updates, you guys are doing a phenomenal job keeping us informed of what's going on, but it would be really good, I think, for the public to know on these expenditure items, what percentage or what the dollar value is of other people's money coming in. The sales tax is a great one because everybody pays for sales tax. They don't have to live here. So anything you could add to, where we have monies being expended that have come from outside sources, I think would be a great help and kind of a transparency for the public to know too.
Yeah, so as part of our grant application, we're required to post that we got some grant proceeds from Land and Water Conservation Fund, so that would help. Are you thinking more along the lines of specific dollar amounts or just relative areas where we're pulling those funds from?
For additional park improvements, and as we get them, I think it's just really nice to know out of $809,000 is 25,000, what has been given to us through a mechanism that we're not using our own money. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
We can add that. We track that in the CIP, in the 5-year CIP a little more clearly. And we've been talking internally about developing the project worksheets that we've used infrequently, but bringing those back that will also, as we put a budget together, show the public how much is coming into any particular project. I do want to just caveat, I think we learned we may have some issues with the timing of the last Land and Water Conservation Grant Fund. We're still trying to work through those. But one of the things that we're experiencing on a variety of fronts is the timing of projects with the grant review cycles, and being able to get those through in a way that allows us to keep projects on track and plan for those. So.
Amen.
Anything else? Recommendation?
Non-consent.
Yeah, regular agenda.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Our next action item tonight is for the consideration of the 2025 through 2029 CARS program from Stephanie Boyce.
Thank you. So tonight, we have for consideration the 2025 through 2029 County Assistance Road System or CARS program. And staff is recommending the approval of the resolution adopting that 5-year program. So through a combination of state gas tax dollars and county general fund revenues, the CARS program provides funding to cities to construct and maintain certain eligible streets. Those streets are listed in your packet. Each year, cities submit a 5-year road improvement plan to the county, from which projects are selected for funding, up to 50% of the project's construction and construction inspection costs. So cities are responsible for the design and any right-of-way activities and utility relocation. So those covers aren't cost in the CARS program. Each city is required to pass a resolution adopting a 5-year plan based on our own unique goals and objectives, and CARS projects are ultimately adopted as part of the county's annual budget process. And the final commitment of funds occurs through approval of the interlocal agreements between the cities and the county. The recommended 2025 through 2029 CARS program is pretty similar to the one that was presented to you last year for 2024 through 2028. There's been some increases and decreases in the estimates from last year's program. which come from either decreases, like reduction in scope or just, decreases in the inflation costs, from the previous estimates. And I'll go over those, here shortly. So, within our projects, our 2025 project is 63rd Street from Nall Avenue to Roe Avenue. The proposed improvements include 3-inch mill and overlay pavement repairs, replacement of curb and gutter, spot replacement of sidewalks, ADA ramps, and pavement markings. Listed in, here's the estimated project cost, which is $760,926. With mission funding, 400,463. Prairie Village is 80,093 after the CARS funding. This project decreased, the cost difference went down, and that was due to a reduction in the scope of services. So we removed some items from that estimate. That's why that went down. For 2026, we have Johnson Drive, Metcalf Avenue to Lamar Avenue. Those proposed improvements include full depth pavement replacement, traffic signal replacement, a Mohawk pedestrian signal at Riggs Avenue, spot replacement of curb and gutter, sidewalks, ADA ramps, streetlights, and pavement markings. Additionally, stormwater infrastructure will be replaced and includes the continuance of the stormwater that was removed. And so that went down because that was not needed for this. And our on-call design team, Olson, is currently working on the concepts right now for that. So we're in the design phase for this project. Mission has been awarded a $6 million surface transportation grant through MARC. Total estimated project cost for that is $14,781,107. With mission funding, $5,851,694 after STP and CARS funding. Our goal is also to secure other grants that will be available for this to bring our out-of-pocket costs down. So our total project decreased also due to the reduction of inflation. So when our engineer is doing the estimates, they add in some inflation. So as they reevaluate it every year, that cost may fluctuate. So that came down. And then also, I believe we did a reduction in scope, remove that interceptor. For 2027, the project is Nall Avenue, Martway Street to 63rd Street, and those proposed improvements include a UBAS surface treatment, pavement repairs, spot replacement of curb and gutter, sidewalks, ADA ramps, pavement markings. The total estimated project cost for that's $373,177 with mission funding $204,089. Additionally, in 2027, Prairie Village is applying for CARS fund for Nall Avenue, 63rd to 67th. And they're asking Mission to fund a portion of that. The estimated total is about $73,000. 2028 Martway Street, Woodson Road to Roeland Drive. Proposed improvements include a 2-inch mill and overlay, pavement repairs, stormwater repairs, spot replacement of curb gutter, sidewalks, and ADA ramps. Pavement markings. Total estimated cost in 2028 is $1,015,895 with mission funding $531,948. For that one, 2028, project cost increase. And again, that was just due to their estimates of inflation because we're so far out from this project right now. 2029 is one that was added this year. We added 51st Street, and that's Lamar Avenue, to the eastern city limits. Proposed improvements include a full depth reconstruction, stormwater repairs, replacement of curb and gutter, sidewalks, and ADA ramps, and pavement markings. The estimated project cost is $2,146,000 $46 with mission funding, $1,170,523 with CARS funding. There's no difference between last year because this is a new project. Approval of this resolution does not specifically commit the city to any expenditures or funds. And its purpose is to communicate to the county the CARS eligible projects and considerations over the next 5 years. At this time, if you have any questions.
Hey, Debbie, is Ash Drive in Roeland Park?
Oh, sorry, the Roeland, yeah, so you caught that. In 2029, Roeland Park is applying for CARS funding to replace the traffic signal at Johnson Drive and Ash Drive. So our portion would be about 145. I believe it sits right on the border.
Okay.
So they would be the managing agency for that project.
Okay, and is that normal for us to pay for something in Roeland? I understand if it's on the cusp. Is it right on the cusp of mission?
Yeah, it's right on the border.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so part of it's in ours and part of it's in theirs.
Yeah, so a lot of these projects will touch the other surrounding agencies, and then we will enter into interlocal agreements with them. Whoever the managing agency is generally will manage that project, manage all those funds, and they reimburse us.
Any other questions? All right, recommendation?
Regular agenda.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay.
Thank you.
Our fifth action item tonight is for the consideration of a task order for design of the 2025 CARS project, also from, well, obviously not from Stephanie.
Sliding in. I'll be repeating quite a bit of what Stephanie just said about 63rd Street, Nall to Roe. That's our 2025 CARS project. It's also in our 5-year CIP. The estimated cost, just like Celia went over, is $720,926.42. It's a combination project with us and Prairie Village. We're administrating the project. It's a 50-50 split on design cost. And once we get through design, there'll be another interlocal that'll come forward with a breakdown of cost. Like Stephanie said, we're paying a little more on this project. They've done repairs to their side of the street probably 3 or 4 years ago. We didn't make those repairs to our side, so there's a lot less curb work and full depth patching on their side. So it's a 3-inch mill and overlay, spot curb replacement, pavement markings. And this is just the next step, so we can try to get this thing out the door in December to get good prices moving forward for the 2025 street CARS program. The design contract is $32,466, and staff is recommending approval with Olson and Associates. Happy to answer any questions.
We good? Okay, recommendation? Regular agenda. Okay. Our next action item tonight is for the consideration of a traffic light purchase for the 2024 CARS project along Roe Avenue from Brent.
Yes, you probably heard about this one, because wastewater's got quite the project going out there right now, but this is our 2024 CARS project. Johnson Drive to 63rd on Roe. Probably heard me speak about this last year, or Celia, but we run into this issue of supply chain issues. Traffic signals have a very long lead time. There's only really a couple suppliers that provide that equipment now in the United States. So it's been engineering services and basically most people's recommendation of pre-ordering the materials that are very difficult to get to try to keep a project on a timeline. Some of this stuff, you know, they'll give you a year out. Hopefully you get it sooner, but it's the mast arms, the poles, the controller, and the radar detection system. So staff is asking to pre-order this equipment ahead of time, just to try to keep the project on schedule after construction. After construction, there'll still be a delay. We're dealing with that on Fox Ridge. We did get the equipment on time, but just there's some delays sometimes with Evergy and making sure we can get power to the poles where to get the cabinets fired up. But this project is just mill and overlay. We're adding new sidewalk along Roe. Some stormwater replacement, not the whole project. That's not that old of a street since they redid it. We're just getting the CMP that's left in the ground out of the ground. And we tried to get 2 quotes for the signal equipment. I was only able to get one. The other vendor is having some trouble on the cabinet. And I think that vendor is going to be relatively cheaper than the quote we got now. So we'll bring that forward to you on the 17th for approval. It's kind of, we misspoke a little bit too. KDOT just gave us the green light, I think Monday or Tuesday. So this project will be going out to bid on the Friday this week, and hopefully we will have bids back on April 29th. I think so. But be happy to answer any questions about the CARS project for Roe from Johnson Drive to 63rd Street. Yeah, one little thing, you might not, I'm sure you saw social media, but wastewater fast track, they found out they had some issues with their force main or gravity main on that project, and they are very willing to help the city and not dig up a brand new road. So they fast tracked that as emergency repairs to get in there and do that work ahead of us. So big shout out to them too for helping us out with that one.
That's great. Great recommendation.
This one actually needs to be probably on the regular agenda because we're waiting on the.
Okay. Brent again, for consideration of localized stormwater projects.
Yes, so this is new to us, and happy to be bringing this forward to you tonight. During discussions on the CIP program in 2022, we were having some talks about funding there's always some sinkholes through town, but fixing some of these localized nuisance projects that aren't emergencies. But we often get complaints about them, and, we have them documented in spreadsheets, but some way to, move these to the top of the list to try to knock a few of these projects off every year. We had 150 budgeted for sinkholes or emergency repairs or wall failures or anything like that. But we were able to bring to the table another 250,000 for localized stormwater projects. So we just changed the name, so I apologize. I've been on it for like a year and a half, so I apologize. But that was allocated in 2023, and we started to design on these projects in 2023. Weren't able to complete that. There was some easements we were going after and permanent drainage easements to accomplish these 4 projects I'll mention here in a minute. That money rolled over to 2024 with some additional money that's budgeted for this year. So there's enough money to complete the 4 projects we're recommending. The first one is 126 Glenwood. That's just, oh, sorry, I'm just going a little ahead of myself, but we have a methodology now we went through a work session on to rate these projects as they come in. So there's a fair system to how these rise to the top of the list. Severity of flooding is part of that, harmed property damage, costs. Those are some of the big factors. So now all those projects go into our matrix and we're able to rate those. And we got to work within our budget limits. So there's some that are very high costly projects that can fall to the bottom list just to budget restraints. But we're able to get some of the 4 bigger ones that probably been on the list, some of these for 4 or 5 years that we've had. So residents are very happy we're moving this forward. The first one's 126 Glenwood Street. It's just a real flat area that holds water and causes residents issues with their driveways eroding and falling apart. So they're excited to get that fixed. I know Hillary's not here, but Fox Ridge Drive at 5030, we've got a lot of open channel in that area that overtakes the sidewalk on heavy rain events. So able to grade that out and get it into the culvert that runs underneath Fox Ridge. So that should be a big improvement. 5230 and 5234 Riggs is a street we built last year, but they are now building houses behind those houses. And we've got a big section of CMP running through some backyards, and going to replace that to give the new development a good place to tie in. So we're not getting into new infrastructure at a later date once they accomplish their project. So just trying to get ahead of the game a little bit there. And then 6212 Rosewood it's not house flooding, but it gets close, and it's just a poor drainage system. So really helping that resident out in that cul-de-sac right there to address those issues. And I know that's probably been going on for 3 or 4 years, so they're super excited about that one. So I think this is a great program. We went out to bid to 4 contractors that we've used on previous projects, that are all vetted and good contractors that have done work for the city before. Infrastructure Solutions, was the lowest bid at $209,685. Recommending approval with them, for the localized stormwater projects. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Comments?
Yeah, Brent, I think it's really nice that we're treating this as a standalone item now, and I'd be interested sometime to talk with you more about your methodology and how you will rate these. And yeah, I'm happy to support this. I recommend the regular agenda just to highlight that we're doing this.
Yeah, and happy to share the matrix. So it's it's standardized. I mean, just a scoring system, but it really benefits us and the residents because you can kind of show them like, you know, if somebody's house is flooding out and somebody's just got water in their driveway, they're going to move to the top of the list. So it just gives them kind of a ranking system to where they fall on the list. So it helps us tremendously too with residents and explaining, you know, our process and who goes first or what project goes first.
So on April 24th, we will have our budget work session on the 5-year CIP, which will include the stormwater program. And we'll bring back that matrix that was presented in a work session in April in 2023, which had, you may recall, the matrix and photos of the projects and a description and rankings and some estimated costs. And so we'll be able to then share with you how or what we've plugged in or targeted over the next 5-year CIP on the stormwater side.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our final action item tonight is for the consideration of a right-of-way use agreement along Martway Street between Nall and Roeland Drive from Brian Scott.
This is another fun little thing we discovered recently. We're all about uncovering things from the past. The owner of the Mission Mart Shopping Center reached out to me at the beginning of the year to discuss the situation with this particular parcel of property. And if you look at the very last page of her packet, you'll see Exhibit B, which is the encroachment area. And that's a side plan of the shopping center. And hopefully it's in color. What you'll see is kind of a colored area at the bottom along Martway. That's actually a portion of their parking lot that encroaches into the right of way for Martway. So they did an ultra survey of this area. And the ultra survey is a very detailed survey that shows all the easements and anything associated with that particular site or parcel of property. And this is what was uncovered. I kind of suspected that might be the case looking at the aerial in Ames or automated mapping system through the county, but those boundaries aren't always exact. So the survey kind of proved what I thought was the case. So he was interested in correcting this. We were not interested in giving up our right of way. We didn't want to do that. So we came to agreement that what we do is a right of way use agreement and essentially allows them to keep their improvements in the Martway right of way. They're responsible for maintaining those improvements. They're responsible for liability. If anything happens in those improvements, you know, it's their responsibility. We have the right, though, in the future, if we ever do any improvements on Martway, such as what Stephanie was talking about in 2028, that we can come in and reclaim that and use that for sidewalk or street widening or a cycle track. We've talked a little about that during our Rock Creek Trail corridor study. So that's the purpose of the agreement tonight. So this kind of identifies that they're encroaching on our right of way and We're okay with it under the conditions of the outlining the use agreement and that we have the right to reclaim in the future if we want to. So.
Yes. So just to make it super clear, we have had conversations with the owner that we have potential plans for that area that could change things in the coming years.
Yeah, I actually shared a draft of for the Rock Creek Trail corridor. I talked with them about the fact that they want to use that for a sidewalk or something in the future, and it's very clearly stipulated in this agreement that they acknowledge that we have that right to go back and reclaim it.
So there's no term defined in the agreement, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Recommendation? Consent? Okay. That concludes our action items for this evening, and we have no discussion items. Before we adjourn this evening, Ms. Smith, are there any department updates for the Community Development Committee?
Just a couple, and I'll whiz through them, but Penn and Stephanie and Brent, please, and Brian, please correct me. Reminder that we have a bike ped study, open house or presentation next Tuesday evening, April 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the community center. So all are welcome. Those of you who have signed up to attend the State of the County presentation, we have that luncheon also next Tuesday, the 9th. 55th Street, we awarded that contract, you'll remember, last month, and there is a letter that has gone out or is ready to go out, going out tomorrow to the residents, advising them. We'll share a copy of that letter with you, so you will have that and can see the communication, but we're excited to get that project moving. Big kudos to Parks and Recreation staff. I heard the turnout for Bunny Extravaganza was maybe larger than it has been in a long time. And so that was fantastic. Always a great event. Just a reminder, if you haven't signed up yet and would like to participate in the citywide cleanup event on April 20th, please let Robin know. And we'll get t-shirts and all of that coordinated. And then we had a great volunteer wellness activity today for cleaning up the portions of the outdoor pool. And so it's great team building and opportunity to sort of get in and dust the cobwebs out and start to get things ready for summer. So that was a great opportunity. And I don't know if anybody else, Brian, do you have anything else? No? Okay. Yes.
Can I ask a quick question? Since we're on streets, can you tell me what's going on between Lamar and Metcalf? Why the lanes are all?
Yes, Woodson is doing the morning for the 2026 project. I know better. So that's part of the 2026 Johnson Drive project. Olson's under contract for design now, and a project of that scope. They do some borings to find out if there's any bedrock or anything like that we're going to deal with the stormwater design, and just trying to get ahead of it. And they're also getting some elevation shots on the AT&T duck bank that runs down Johnson Drive that we had issues with in 2014. So.
Okay. The interceptor's been taken out of that stretch of road though.
Correct.
Okay.
But we're still trunk lining storm down it, and it's a full depth reconstruction. So if there's a rock ledge or something in there, it's better if we know about it ahead of time. And we get better bids too, if you can put that in the contract docs so they can see the boring records. So we usually get a better price too during construction.
Do you know how long they'll be?
I think it's about 2 or 3 days and they'll be out of there. So it's just a moving traffic to get those, and then we'll be back to normal.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, it is now 7:44 p.m. and with no further discussion, that concludes the meeting of the Community Development Committee. Again, this video will be made public on our website at missionks.org. Thank you.
All right. It is still 7:44 p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee to order. While this meeting is being held in person, we are also offering the option for the public to participate through Zoom if preferred. Instructions on how to attend virtually are included in the City Council calendar listed on the front page of missionks.org. The public is also invited to participate in the meeting. If you are participating through Zoom, please either add your comment in the chat feature and it will be read out loud, or note that you would like to speak and we will call on you shortly to make your comment verbally. Please remember, your comments or questions are visible to everyone in the meeting. If you're a part of our in-person group tonight, please raise your hand, but stay seated and we will call on you to go to the lectern to make your comment. When you make your comment, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Also, please be conscientious of others trying to speak and speak slowly and clearly. This meeting will be recorded and posted on the city's website at missionks.org. Please contact the administration offices at 913-676-8350 with any questions or concerns. Ms. Folks, please call the roll.
Boltinghouse,
Here.
Loudon. Here. Ryder.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
Chociej.
Here.
He is here. And Carpenter Davis.
Here.
Thank you. Our first item of business is public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment now? Seeing none, we'll move on. Our public presentation happened during the Community Development Committee earlier this evening. So we'll move into action items. Our first action item this evening is the acceptance of the meeting minutes from Robin Folks.
Thank you. Draft minutes of the March 6th Finance and Administration Committee meeting were concluded for review and acceptance in your packet tonight.
Recommendation? Yep.
I have a quick comment. I just need one change on page 2. We're talking about the pervious versus impervious parking. And it says she believes that the city should require pervious.
I will make that correction for you.
Thank you.
Recommendation otherwise?
Recommend consent.
Thank you. And our final action item tonight is for consideration of a CMB license for Aviitos LLC from Robin Folks.
Yes, thank you. In the continuing excitement of the return of Avaludos to Mission, they have applied for a CMB license, which would allow them to sell beer under 6%. State statutes and the city code requires that all businesses wanting to do so complete an application process that includes providing information on the business, going through a criminal background check, and paying a fee. They have done all of those things, and the criminal background check came back as no history found that would require them to not be able to obtain the license. So they've provided the application materials that I need in order to get the license to the state, and I bring it to you for your consideration tonight, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Does that include wine or do they?
A CMB license only includes beer under 6% alcohol volume. So if they want to sell anything else, they would have to get a drinking establishment license. So John and I did talk about that, and he knows those options for maybe some future planning.
Thank you. Anything else? Otherwise, I'd take a recommendation. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no discussion items this evening. Ms. Smith, are there any department updates for the Finance and Administration Committee?
No, thank you.
Thanks. It is now 7:48 PM. We did that in 4 minutes, and with no further discussion, that concludes the meeting of the Finance and Administration Committee. Again, this video will be made public on our website at missionks.org. Thank you.